to Where I Long to Be, a magical trip report podcast. My name is Virginia, and I am your host. This is the last pre-trip report episode of season 4. Don't forget, I'll be taking the next 2 weeks off because I have a work trip coming up, and I just need a little break before I dive into the next season on July 7th. If you are interested in being a Trip Report guest, or if you know someone, whether it's a family member, friend, or a travel client of yours who might make a good guest, please have them submit through my website, which is whereilongtobepodcast.com. Being a guest is a lot of fun and a commemoration of your trip you can listen to whenever you want to look back on the magic. I'm currently looking for guests who are traveling in September and beyond. I typically need a few months' notice to get you into my schedule, so let me know if you have any questions and let's get you booked. And with that, let's get to today's pre-trip report. Here are Kelly and Pat. Welcome back to the podcast to Kelly and new friend to me, Pat.
Hi, Virginia. How are you?
Good. Welcome, Pat.
Hey, thanks for having me, Virginia. Very excited.
I'm very excited to meet you because on Kelly's previous episode, you were a shining star in her trip report.
Oh, no.
So very exciting to actually have you on the show today. So let's hear a little bit about you.
Sure. So I have known Kelly. God, how long have we known each other now, Kelly?
A long time.
Yeah.
At least 15 years.
Yeah. I originally come from Illinois, moved out here, 20 some years ago to work at the University of Connecticut before ending up at the University of Massachusetts, which is where I met Kelly. And we've been friends ever since. Our families have been friends for forever and ever. And Kelly's probably one of the 2 reasons I'm on this podcast. The other being my wife's best friend, who started us on Disney trips in the first place and got us addicted. Yes, addicted. And so it's been fun. We have a boy. He's 13. He's getting a little too cool for school sometimes for the Disney trips, but yet he still has a good time when he's there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay. 13. Is that 8th grade or 7th?
7th grade. He'll be in 8th grade next year.
Okay. That's very exciting. It's an interesting age, isn't it?
Yes. He went from always being around and hanging out to it's like I'm in my room.
Right.
I will be in my room until we're like, hey man, why don't you come out of the room? Let's see the rest of the world. It'll be fun.
Yep.
But he does love traveling. He loves traveling.
Does he love traveling to Disney?
He does. He's just he does joke a little bit. He kind of wants to see other parts of the world and actually I'm sure we can talk about this at some point, but when we became DVC members, that's kind of creating some opportunity to see some other places that we didn't normally think that we would be able to do. And so I'm really happy that we get to possibly give that to him in the future, because I never had that. Like, I was a Midwest kid. My family traveled to St. Louis for a weekend, and that was like our big summer vacations, like go to the St. Louis Zoo and catch a Cardinal game. That was what we did.
I have an almost 15-year-old only child boy who loves to go to Disney, but also loves to go other places as well. So I can relate. I want to know, though, because I'm also a DVC member, what is your home resort?
It is the Bay Lake Tower next to the Contemporary. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm across the lake at Wilderness Lodge.
Nice. We did a DVC rental stay at Wilderness Lodge and loved it. My wife, Julie, in fact, claimed the balcony as hers. So every time we go back, I don't know if it'll just change, but we had an amazing view, like looking out over the resort pool and the lake. It was great. It was a perfect little stay.
Have you been back to Bay Lake Tower and stayed in a renovated room yet?
No, our goal in February is that we have a trip booked for February. It's our welcome home stay, because we resailed, and so just waiting for like getting through ROFR and getting.
Wait, you have to explain what ROFR is for the listeners.
Right.
What is that word?
Right of first refusal. So when you purchase, when you put in a purchase bid for a DVC contract, that's a resale contract, Disney has the opportunity to buy back that contract in points, and it makes you very sad because as they say, you get ROFR'd, and you have to go back to the drawing board. Ours, fortunately, Bay Lake is not one of the ones that's being bought back a lot, so it worked out pretty well.
Mhm.
We had stayed at Bay Lake one other time, and I fell in love with it just because of the proximity to like the park,
Right.
and just being able to walk across the street to Magic Kingdom
Mhm.
is like it's awesome.
And you had
And
stayed at Bay Lake before you purchased?
we stayed
Okay.
at Bay Lake before we purchased. We really bought into the renting points concept
Mhm.
and trying to see how we liked it. We joke amongst like Kelly and our families about sort of what we've created with ourselves and sort of like our standard of stay. Like once our first stay ever was at the Fort Wilderness Cabins, and then we've never stayed at anything less than like a DVC rental
Mhm.
experience. And we kept going, and finally I was like, we should really look into doing a contract
Mhm.
because we're already utilizing this resort. We might as well put
Right.
the money into it and kind of save a little bit on the back end. My
Oh,
wife
yeah.
has a whole calculus of like what the rack rate is versus what we're
Mhm.
actually saying based on the contract. So
I do too.
I'm
I have my
excited.
my spreadsheet with all my formulas
Right.
in it, and I have already hit the point where the money we paid out of pocket at the outset, we've already made that back in the amount of stays, and so now we're into the just continuing to get value out of it with the maintenance fees, and I have it set so that I'll know when I've made back basically the lifetime of maintenance fees as well.
Now, are you a Copper Creek or Boulder Ridge?
Copper Creek.
Oh
I
yeah.
we didn't plan to buy DVC. I had never like I had heard of it. My husband had not, and we got roped into coming over and looking at a room with the promise of a Disney gift card for like 100 or $150 plus free fast passes and unlimited ice cream for our son while we sat and listened. So we did it, and we walked away with the most expensive souvenir that I've ever gotten at Disney. And there was a moment of panic as we sat at the airport waiting to go home because we knew that when we got home, we needed to transfer the money over to make the payment.
Right.
And so, like that anticipation of that huge payment and telling our parents that we had made this huge purchase while we were away. But it's been we bought in 2018, and like besides that moment of slight panic, have not regretted it since. And I would love to add on. I just have to convince my husband.
The next conversation for us is I keep joking. Okay, when do we do the buy direct? When do we do the
Hmm.
buy direct for Disney so that you get all of the benefits of being a Disney Vacation Club
Hmm.
member? Because where we are as a resale, like we don't have access to like the lounges, some of the lounges, and some of the other
Hmm.
little perks that come along with it that
Yeah,
are
but you
nice. They're
saved
not they're
so
not
much
deal
money.
bakers. Yeah, we saved a ton on the contract.
You gotta weigh that out. And I
Right.
will say, like, it's nice, like, to be like, I get to go into the lounge, but it's a room with chairs, and they give you 3
Sure.
bags of chips and a freestyle machine. So I
Getting
feel
out of
like
the
you
Florida
saved a
sun
lot.
though, and not having to fight it, folks. Yeah, it's. I also want to do Moonlight Magic someday.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I did my first one
right?
in, January. All right, Kelly, for people who have not listened to your previous episode, how about a little background on who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kelly. I am from Western Massachusetts, like Pat said. Also work at UMass Amherst. I also have a side business, Wishlist Travel, which really started around Disney, but I do other things as well. And my wife Colby and my daughter Esme are typically my travel buddies. Esme is 10, going to be 11 in November. Huge Disney fan, but not quite at the too cool for school phase yet, but certainly getting there. And Colby's also a big Disney fan as well.
Yes, and Kelly and Colby and Esme and I got to meet up when you all came to a New York Instagram. I don't even know what to call it. It was just a bunch of us from Instagram met up in the city, and I live in the city, so it was very convenient for me. But we've actually met in real life, and Pat, I hopefully will meet you at some point in real life. I typically go in February every year, so maybe we'll run into each other if you're there President's Week.
That is when we are currently booked.
We have it booked. there might be some changes coming. I might have to move my trip. We'll see. We'll see. But
We're in the same boat. I
yeah,
think it's about getting the dates and then sort of playing with it
right.
once you have your dates.
Exactly. Exactly. And then also, I'm trying to get around to all the different DVC resorts. So, like right now, I'm booked for Copper Creek, but we have not yet stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And then there's a couple that my husband and son have not stayed at, but I have. And so I think in July I'm gonna go for something different. We'll
I
see.
want to stay in Boardwalk at
Yeah,
Boardwalk in the worst way. I just love the look of that resort. I love the
yeah,
look of the boardwalk itself.
and the location.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's one that my husband and son have not stayed at, so that is on my list as a possibility. I have stayed there, and I will say that the only thing I really don't like about it is that the quick service is out on the boardwalk, and you have to
Mhm.
go outside and around, and just to get
Right.
your refill in your mug or whatever. But besides that, like the location, it's so nice to just be able to walk out the front door, or I guess it's technically the back door, the boardwalk door, to go over to Epcot or to go out the end and head over to Hollywood Studios. So location, 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 as they say. All right, let's get into this trip. So, where are you headed, and how did this trip come about?
I can start quick, and then Pat will, I'm sure, jump in and help.
I will tell
So
my side of how I learned about this trip.
I don't remember what your side is about how
Oh,
you
I
learned about on
remember.
this trip. So we went on the Disney Dream, my family, a couple of years back and did a placeholder. So
Mm-hmm.
we were thinking about another Disney cruise, not necessarily on the Treasure. And I like to call this the most expensive takeout night we ever had. Were you there, Pat, or was it just Julie and Connor? Oh, you weren't there.
No,
Okay.
this is why there's a story involved with this.
Okay. Yeah, so we met one night and had takeout and we were just kind of hanging at the house. It was Julie and Connor, Colby, Esme, and I. And we started kind of talking about cruises. And the next thing you know, we had the Disney Treasure for a week booked. And I guess Pat found out it after the fact. I don't know, Pat. You can chime in if you
So,
want, but
so I had gone to dinner with a couple of other friends. It was one of their birthdays or something. So I was at a restaurant in a different town. And I was under the impression that you were all meeting to work out details for the trip that you talked about on the previous time you were on the podcast when we
oh,
went to
that's
Mickey's Not So
right. That's
Scary
right.
Halloween party. So I start getting texts in the middle of dinner with my friends. It's like, oh, we've got everything squared away. We're going to stay at Saratoga Springs. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And I'm like, great. Then all of a sudden I get a text from Julie's like, we're talking about cruises now. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then a little bit, and we're now going on a cruise on May 24th. And we've never cruised before. So this
Mm-hmm.
will be a whole new experience. But
A whole
yeah,
new
I was at
world.
dinner. Very much so. Rub that magic lamp in the lobby. It was just, yeah, I'm sitting there. I was like, okay, friends, apparently I am now going on a cruise, leaving Memorial Day weekend. So that's happening. I was totally fine with it. Absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
that was how I learned, was at dinner on a day I wasn't expecting to learn that we were
That's
going on a
funny
cruise.
because I really did. I had forgotten about that, but you're right. We were meeting about the other trip to handle some logistics, and the next thing you know, we had a second trip booked, and and I was like, wow, that turned out to be one expensive night. But
It's a
It
slippery slope.
it
it
is, and
is
we booked this trip in January 2024. So this has been a
yeah.
long time coming. Like we have been
Mm-hmm.
waiting for this trip. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
when the countdown on the app was like,
Mm-hmm.
500 and something days or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Pat, I feel like the same thing is going to happen to you with this cruise that has happened to you with your Disney stays, where you're like starting at the top, and then what are you going to do after that? Because
Right.
how is anything going to compare? The Disney Treasure looks amazing. Where are you headed on this particular outing?
So it's a Western Caribbean cruise with 3 stops. Nope, Eastern Caribbean cruise with 3 stops. Thank you, Kelly Gray. We we will start hitting Tortola on the
Mm-hmm.
British Virgin Islands first, followed by St. Thomas, and then a day at Castaway Cay, and then sea days in between all of those as we get from spot to spot. And so a new location for all of us also in terms of just a vacation spot. So we had talked a little bit before about my son wanting to like travel more and see new places. This is one of those opportunities. And so yeah, I'm very excited to do that starting on the 24th. We are spending a few days in Orlando ahead of time.
Where are you going to stay in Orlando?
We are staying at, well, we're arriving on the 21st and we're staying at All Star Music for a night before we head over to Old Key West to stay a couple of days at Old Key West, sharing a 2-bedroom with the Grays as well there.
And I'll also say this is like one of those perfect things where when we started looking at flights, our goal was to leave on Thursday, and the flights were just so much cheaper on Wednesday that it ended up being less expensive to do one night at an All-Star and then move over. And then that works out perfect for the free water park offer for 2025. So we're going to take advantage, or at least some of us are going to take advantage of the free water park on the Thursday when we switch hotels. So
that is the benefit of a split stay now, is getting multiple water park opportunities, because if the weather doesn't cooperate, you have more than one chance.
And I think that this Disney makes the split stays easy. We've done this a few different times, and the fact that you can just give your bags to Bell Services and they end up in the other hotels. Sometimes it takes a while, but it still is very easy.
Have both of you stayed at All Star Music and Old Key West before, or will either of these be a new opportunity for you?
So this is where there's a big difference between the Quins and the Grays. So the Grays are more likely to stay at values and moderates. We've never stayed at Music, but we've stayed at All-Star Movie and Pop Century, which obviously Pop is a little different because it's on the Skyliner. But this will be our first time at Music. And then for Old Key West, it's our first time as well.
For Music, are you staying in 2 separate rooms, or are you in one of the family suites?
2 separate rooms.
Okay. I stayed at All Star Music in one of the family suites for my girls trip in January, and that was my first All Star experience, and it was great.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I really like about Disney is there's kind of something for every budget. And I think for our family, it's often, where do we want to spend the money? Right. And sometimes when we're having a trip that's really heavy on the parks, then it just makes sense to stay someplace, that allows your budget to go to some of the other extras. So, but I think that's the great thing about Disney, though. Every family can kind of tackle it the way that it makes sense for them.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why we do stay at the Deluxe and went with the DVC rental contract, because I am the parks guy. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but I could go every day. And just every day, and it doesn't matter which one I go to. I don't need a plan. I can just go. Julie, on the other hand, is very much about being in a place where she, like, it doesn't need to be a bed, and that's it, because she's not as big into the park goers and the crowds. She wants a place where she can sit and relax. That's why when we stayed at Boulder Ridge, and she had this great balcony, and she was able to sit, have a cup of coffee, relax, enjoy her vacation, still be in the bubble, and just relax the whole time. And it was perfect, and it's wonderful. And then Connor is literally a mix of the two of us. Like, Connor and I have done 4 parks in one day twice now, as just part of our vacation. But then he'll be like, you know what, I'm done with parks. I think I'm done for now. I just want to chill, maybe hit the pool, grab another burger at Geyser Point. And that'll be, he'll be perfectly happy with this vacation. And that is made it so perfect for our family in just what we want to do and how we want a vacation.
Have you made it over to Old Key West before?
No, these are both new resorts for me too. Julie's wanted to stay at Old Key West for a long time. She loves
Mm-hmm.
the Florida ambiance and just kind of the look
Mm-hmm.
and the feel of it. And so she's actually, I think, a little bit more excited to stay here. I don't, again, I don't really mind either way. I think that
Mm-hmm.
they look great. I like the sort of more modern look of some of the other resorts. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I told you Boardwalk is a goal, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this will be exciting. It'll be fun. New spot.
Mm-hmm.
Get lost in the inter resort bus loop. I did that. I got lost at Saratoga. I got off a bus and went left instead of right, and then had to call Julie to be like, "Where is our room?" So I'm
Uh-huh.
looking forward to doing that again when I'm on my own at Old Key West before we get on the cruise.
We stayed at Old Key West in February for a night or two. I can't remember. It was like a night or two. I think it was 2 nights before we moved on to the Grand Floridian. And I will give you a top tip is that there are not a whole lot of outlets. At
Okay.
least there were
Oh,
not in the studio. Like, it was a problem with 3 of us with multiple, headphones, iPads, like, all of that kind of stuff. So, I might consider putting a power strip into my luggage.
yeah, I have one that I travel with. It's got a couple extra outlets and then
Mhm.
the other ports as well, which I was going to bring for the cruise anyway. So,
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
yeah,
good
but
call.
that's a good tip because I do think at the end of the day, when you're trying to charge phones and
Mhm.
cameras and all kinds of other things, so
Yeah, and
um,
hopefully the boat to Disney Springs will be up and running when you're there because that was like we didn't love our stay at Old Key West, I'll be honest with you. And it part of it was just like the vibe was like different than I think we were expecting, but also like the boat was not running the entire time. So to get to Disney Springs, we had to take a bus and that's one of the draws of staying at a place like Saratoga Springs or Old Key West is that if you want a boat to head over to Disney Springs, you can get it, and it wasn't working out for us, and between
yeah.
that and the outlet thing and having a teenager who was like, "What is going on here? I need an outlet."
Well, and that's actually too bad because I do think the boat is a selling point.
Right.
Right.
One of the days that Pat and probably Connor are at the park, one of the days, Friday, that where you all are, and we're not there for
Yeah,
that
it
long.
says it all.
The
It says
day
it on the itinerary.
itinerary, yeah, the day you all are at the parks, I know that one of the plans is to kind of do pool in Disney Springs, and I think we were hoping to take the boat over, and
Mhm.
so I guess we'll see. We'll have to compare notes in the post show and
Yeah.
see what we
They
think.
were doing something to the dock, so hopefully, like, that was February, so I hope it's done
Oh,
by now, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, and I know they've run into problems with like water being too low too. I remember that at one point. The boats couldn't go
Oh,
because the
yeah.
water was
Oh,
too low.
yeah, that would like, when they had not a lot of rain, there
Right,
was
right,
a
right.
point where any of the boats that are going to Disney Springs were not running.
Well,
Yeah.
it's May, so there should be plenty of rain.
Yeah, yep, it's true. All right, let's get into all of the details. So, Wednesday, May 21st, what time is your flight, and are you all flying down on the same flight?
Yeah, we are. So our kids are going to school. So Connor and Esme are at a separate school, but they're across the street from each other. So Connor's getting picked up early too, right? He's going to school, but
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
picked
yeah.
up
We're
early.
we're gonna
Yeah.
pick him up around lunchtime
Yeah, so
ish.
we're picking up the kids, and then we're meeting at the Quinn house, and we're gonna leave our car there, and then we think we're only taking one car to the airport.
Wait,
The
didn't you
reason
think that the last time too?
we did, but
We
and
made it work. It happened.
last time we made it work. It's the luggage, right? The luggage is, but we this is a little bit longer of a trip, so we'll see. So
Mhm.
anyway, we think we're taking one car to the airport, parking, and then we're all on, I believe, a 5:30ish flight on Southwest, and
Yep.
we fly right into MCO direct flight, and really just enough time to maybe get to All Star Music, poke around a little bit, go to bed. So Wednesday,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I said, it was really about saving money on the flights. It ended up being cheaper to leave Wednesday,
Mhm.
even with that extra one night stay.
How are you getting from MCO over to All Star Music?
We're doing the Mears Global Chauffeured Black Car Service. So that'll
Oh,
be
okay.
I
All right.
know.
Yeah,
Right?
Julie booked that for us. Typically, my family just does a lift, but I do think with all of us and our luggage,
Mhm.
it's probably going to be helpful to have something on reserve.
Yeah, we've
So
we've done we've done the Mears car a few times. We've always had
Mhm.
really good success with them. They've been great. Not the shuttle bus that I know sometimes people have had like hits or misses with. This is a little bit different. Like there's somebody, you feel special. There's like somebody with your name and the whole like get in the car, they take you around. It's awesome.
Oh man, it's gonna be your name, not mine.
Well,
I've never seen my name on one of those cards before.
You're basically a Quinn at this point.
I don't know about that.
And I'm basically a Gray. We're fine.
I mean, we do have the Disney family travel connection.
Disney family travel, yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
I don't know, maybe she can call in advance and ask them to put
Quinn Gray
/ on the sign.
Yeah.
Just so I can feel cool for like a second. I'll make my own sign. I'll be like, here, can you just hold this?
I feel like I've made this a more special experience than it really,
I think you have. So Thursday, I think you were asking about Thursday too. So Thursday we have, and did you see Julie actually just texted us to say your reservation? So we have 2 separate reservations at Topolino's. We couldn't get a group of 6, so we split into 2 groups of 3, and we're now the Quinns are at 8:10 and we're at 8:15. So hopefully we've been trying
to fix that for weeks now.
Yeah,
because we outsmarted ourselves. If I remember correctly.
We did outsmart ourselves. Yeah, so we were trying to get ourselves closer and we ended up further away. But we've been to Topolino's before, but the Quinns have not. So and this is my favorite character breakfast, so I'm kind of excited to share this with them.
Yeah, the food is so good, and I love all their outfits they're wearing and everything. Kelly, what do you usually order for that breakfast?
So the last time, I'm trying to think, I want to say I got some type of, this is terrible, right? I should know. I want to say like some type of egg, maybe Benedict, but it wasn't but it wasn't, I don't know if it was actually a Benedict. It was egg. I have to like flip through my photos.
You'll tell me what you get after you get back.
But it's something savory. Esme goes for like the waffles and that cool little painter's pot. And Colby usually does something sweet as well, but I'm the savory person.
I will tell you, I had the steak and eggs the last time I was there, and I don't know if I'm ever going to order anything different now. It was so good.
Well, I went through a period where I wasn't eating red meat, but now I am again. So maybe steak and eggs this time.
And I'm not a huge steak person. Like I like a steak every once in a while, but I have to be in the mood for it. It was so good.
Okay, well, I'm going to write this down, and
noted.
This is what I'm trying. So we'll compare notes on this too.
All right, what are you doing after breakfast? Is there any part-time happening on this day? It didn't sound like it.
So we're doing a split after breakfast. So Colby and I are taking the kids to Blizzard Beach.
Okay.
And I love water parks. I live for water parks. So I'm really excited. I haven't been to Blizzard Beach since Esme was born. The last few times we've done water parks, it's always been Typhoon Lagoon that's open. And I believe the day before we get there is the day they're opening up both water parks at the same time. So I think because of this 2025 free water park, on your check-in day, the water parks have just been really busy. So they're opening up both. And so when I found out Blizzard Beach was going to be open, I was that was it. I was sold. So that's what we're going to do.
Do you know how long they're going to continue having both open at one time?
I don't, but I bet Pat does.
I actually haven't seen an end date yet. I do know that it's definitely they're both definitely staying open through the summer months. That is set. And I don't know when they'll do the Typhoon Lagoon closure for refurbishment that they do annually. Okay. It's been a long time since they've both been open at the same time. It's kind of a big deal. But
I've only ever been there when Typhoon Lagoon has been open. And so I'm going for Labor Day weekend and hoping to take advantage of a water park day, because the past 2 trips I've been on where that's been an option, the weather hasn't been good enough to go to a water park. So, and I really want to try Blizzard Beach, even if it's just for half a day.
Yeah. Weather could be a problem for us too, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And
I've already looked, our outlook so far is good.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a week. I know it's a week away. It's less than a week away, but it's going to be, according to my last check, like I do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's from the Midwest. He's
It
a weather
is
guy.
my father was a Midwest farm kid who stood on porches and watched for tornadoes. It's supposed to be clear in 92. So it's like a good water park day if that
Absolutely
weather
it is.
holds.
Yeah.
It is not going to, like, Julie and I are heading to Epcot because we're picking up our annual passes. We had an annual pass. We let it lapse because we didn't go for a year. We're picking it back up, mostly for me and my part going. But it's also for the nice, that 20% discount on like merchandise at most of the stores that you get with an annual pass is it's great and dangerous at the same time, because suddenly it's like, oh, look at this $15 pin. Well, it's only going to be this, so I could buy like 3 of them instead of and the next thing you know, you've spent $7,000 on Disney pins.
He's not exaggerating.
I don't think
he is. I know the struggle.
But Pat, are you guys going to put up a pin board on the cruise?
No, Connor's the pin collector. Like Connor, he doesn't trade much. He's traded a little bit here or there. He likes his Chip and Dale pins, his Haunted Mansion pins, and Stormtrooper pins. It's very specific. Stormtrooper pins. That's his favorite part of Star Wars. So those are the things we end up with, and he's got his board. He's not about bringing them and putting stuff up and risking losing his precious Chip and Dale pins. Mostly it's the Chip and Dale ones at this point. Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to pick up our annual passes and then wander around the Flower and Garden Festival a little bit. That's of the festivals I've been to, that's my favorite one.
I love it.
I love the topiaries. I want to see the Moana topiary. It lights up. It looks amazing. And the last time we had gone, Julie wanted to try this. It's a street corn that is at one of the booths, and Connor and I got to do it, but she was taking a rest day at the resort, and we may have taunted her with photos of us enjoying the street corn while she was not able to go. So we're going to see if we can, catch that white whale with some street corn and move that along and just hopefully have a quiet day at Epcot.
The margarita booth right outside of Mexico also has good street corn.
Yes,
every day of the year, regardless of
the margarita booth. It's the line at the margarita booth.
It goes fast though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It goes really fast. It goes obviously much faster than the La Cava line.
Right.
But sometimes I want to just get in there just for that street corn, and I'm willing to forego my avocado margarita for a normal margarita just to get that street corn.
So important question. You get to Epcot at the World Showcase. Are you going left towards Mexico or right towards Canada?
Am I staying in the boardwalk area? Then I'm going International Gateway towards France.
Well, okay. All right. There is that, because when we're on the Skyliner, we start that way. But if I'm standing in that spot, it's always towards Mexico.
You know what? Most of the time it's towards Mexico, but because I like going to France so much, either like if I'm there in the morning to go get my breakfast back there at Les Halles, in that case, I will head towards Canada because I have a very specific.
Okay. All right. So you're not someone who has the set way. What about you, Pat? Yeah. Where are you going?
I'm a Canada guy.
Oh, okay. All right. I have no problems with Canada. I love Canada.
I'm a Canada guy because everybody goes to Mexico. It's so much easier sometimes to just veer to the right.
The people, yeah.
Because the internet screams at you to go to Mexico first. And I also like I like the Canadian beers.
Well, and I'm also just pointing out here, you said Connor needs to travel more. Does he really, if he just goes to the World Showcase?
I mean, we have
I'm just kidding. I like international travel as well, but
and you book international travel as well, right?
Yes, I do.
The Italy pavilion does not replace Rome. We have to just clarify.
Well, we're going to Rome summer 2026, right?
That's true. We are
real Rome. Yeah, we're with a big group of people. I think 48 people now so far, and we're doing a round trip cruise out of Rome.
Wow.
So that's anyway, that's a whole nother long story. But
It's a
yeah,
different, it's a
we
different
have
show.
some real international travel coming up.
I
So.
feel like it's expensive to be your friend.
But I do find good deals, Virginia. I find good
I'm sure
deals.
you do. I'm sure you do. And the thing about booking something this far out, including like a Disney cruise, which are notoriously expensive, is that you have time to make the payments on it and get everything situated before you
And
go.
I think one thing about me is, and we'll hear maybe a little more of this as we go into the cruise stuff, is, my family, we do think about budget a lot. Like, I would
Mhm.
rather go on 3 trips a year and think about budget for those 3 trips than only travel once. I mean,
Right.
but again, I mean, every family thinks about these things different. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how we look at it.
I will
Yeah.
say 2 years ago when we booked this cruise, I thought this would be like a one-off. I did not see where our travel relationship would go.
Yeah, well,
And
Here you are.
here we are.
yes,
Here we
here
are.
we are looking at cruises left and right and have done a lot of traveling together
Yeah.
now already.
So thinking about this trip though, one of the things I was thinking about is I do think Thursday night is where we're not necessarily, like, that might be a night that either on Thursday or Friday, we're hoping to meet up and maybe try to watch some MK fireworks from a
Right.
distance. And,
Mhm.
but I don't think we've really decided if that's going to be Thursday or Friday night yet. So there's still some kind
Right.
of looseness in those plans.
Okay. And you said Friday is the day that there's some park time happening, but also some Disney Springs time happening.
Yeah, so Pat's family, or Pat and Connor, are doing the parks, and
Yeah.
Julie, Colby, Esme, and I are doing kind of resort day Disney Springs.
Okay. And what parks are you going to? Are you doing a 4-part
We're
challenge, Pat?
I don't well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see where the day takes us. We're definitely
Virginia, he
doing
is. He doesn't. He's
No,
not admitting it yet, but he
we're
is.
definitely doing 2 parks for certain.
He's doing 4.
We're definitely doing 2 parks for certain because we are definitely
Okay.
going to Animal Kingdom to ride Dinosaur one last time, even though we talked about it in September that was going to be the one last time, but now we're here again. And it's like, well, we'll do one last time. So we're
Mhm.
doing that one last time, and then we are heading over to Hollywood Studios. One of
Mhm.
my favorite attractions of all time is going away in Muppet Vision 3D. One of my birthday gifts that I was talking about before is a picture of Sam the Eagle that says a salute to all nations, but mostly America. That is a line from Muppet Vision 3D. That attraction is closing on June 6th or 7th, somewhere in there.
No.
So we're gonna go. I want to go see it one more time before it makes way for the Monsters Inc. land that's being built
Mhm.
shortly thereafter, which is also super exciting. But I love that show. I think it's
Mhm.
super cute. I don't care how dated it is. Connor enjoys it as well. It's a nice get out of the heat sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then depending on where we are on the day, maybe we'll get to Epcot. Maybe we'll get to. We're probably Epcot's the one that's the least likely to be hit because his favorite part or his favorite attraction is over at MK. It's the Haunted Mansion. He loves the Haunted Mansion. It holds a special place for me with taking him because it's the first ride he ever rode, and then after we were done, he was like, "Can we ride it again?"
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was so perfect because they were doing a parade. The Festival of Fantasy Parade was going, so there was like we came out of the ride, the parade's going on, nobody's watching it, and it was a walk on.
Mhm.
He was like, and he was 8 at the time, and he was like scared to ask, as if it
Mhm.
was like this taboo thing because we'd used a fast pass to go. And I was like, no, we can go again, dude. Like we'll go, and we did, and we rode Haunted Mansion on our first trip 6 times over the course
Wow.
of I saw the bride. We got stuck in front of the bride for like an hour during
Oh,
not
no.
that it wasn't that long, but it was
I like it.
Mickey's Very
Yeah.
Merry Christmas Party. We got held up and the bride just kept changing and shifting, and I lost a little bit of the magic there, but we generally have to ride it if we're at the park. So we'll
Mhm.
probably end up at 3. But I also I don't want us to be gassed and worn out going
Uh-huh.
into the next day when we're hopping
All
a
right.
bus to
Well,
get on the boat.
listeners, we will find out what actually happens
Right,
when
right.
we talk after the trip. But Kelly has her money on 4 parks one day.
Yep. Visit me at Wishlist Travel 413. We'll make bets on whether Pat does 4 parks or not. I'm going with yes.
What are you going to be aiming for at Disney Springs? Do you have any dining reservations, or are you just going to wander?
So our dining reservation is actually at Olivia's at Old Key West. So we're doing
Ooh,
brunch there. And
so
then
good. So good.
so that's what we've heard. None of us have eaten there before. I love a good brunch, so we're excited about that. And then I think for Disney Springs, I don't think there's really a destination. I mean, Colby always wants to go to Gideon's. Colby loves Gideon's. Um, you know how Gideon's is. It really depends on how bad the line is and
Mhm.
whether it's worth it. But for Colby, it's usually always worth it. And then we kind of talked about if we got any food at Disney Springs that it might not be a sit down reservation.
Mhm.
There's a Indian place now that's kind of like a quick
Yes.
service there, and
Mhm.
we're all fans of Indian food. Well, Esme is not fans of Indian food, but the adults are. So
Mhm.
maybe check that out.
Mhm. Yeah, it's close to Earl of Sandwich though, so maybe she could grab something and bring it over and sit with you while you eat your Indian food.
Yeah, so we're trying to not have too many plans for that day.
Yeah.
Just kind of enjoy a resort day where we're
Yeah.
also checking out Disney Springs.
Fun. Okay. All right. So Saturday, the 24th, is the day that you head off on your cruise. How are you getting from Walt Disney World resort property over to where you need to be for the cruise?
So we actually debated this quite a bit and ended up landing on Disney transportation,
Mhm.
and mostly because it gives you kind of the better chance of getting boarding the cruise ship earlier. So they will pick us up over at our resort, and they will take us right over to the cruise terminal, and
Mhm.
hopefully, we did our cruise check-in stuff early anyway, or not early, but on time.
Mhm.
And so we should be able to get on the ship, I hope, as soon as we get to the
Yeah,
port.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll get on the ship eventually.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's gonna happen.
I love for any cruise, right? I love getting on the ship early because as other people are kind of getting on, the ship is kind of quiet. You can kind of do that touring, see what's
Right.
available, get the lay of the land. And for parents that have kids that might be using the kids club, it's a good chance to tour the kids club and get them signed up. And
Yeah.
Connor is in Edge, which is kind of the young teen space. Esme is still in the Oceaneers Club, but I think we're going to ask to bump Esme up because she's only a few months away, so Connor and Esme can be together.
Yeah, I bet
Right.
they'll let you do that.
I think they will too. I think they take requests from parents, and she's so close to that age group.
Right. And knowing that she would have a friend there makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't even know how much time they'll spend in Edge, but I would like to know that they have the option if they want it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say one of the biggest appeals, of traveling with you, Kelly, is Connor and Esme have basically grown up together and know each other very, very well, and it is something where I trust the two of them together doing whatever, and that that they'll hang out and that they get along well. That's helpful. I can't wait to explore the ship. Like I
Mhm.
Yeah.
really am very excited for embarkation day and getting on the ship. I do hope we get on early so that
Mhm.
we can get a lay of the land. I very much, anytime I'm anywhere new, want to wander the whole place, like if
Mhm.
Mhm.
and just see what there is, find what there is to find, see if we can figure out the fastest way to get in front of people for theater shows and all that. No, I'm just kidding. But knowing, just understanding the lay of the land in relation to just how to, especially in a space I've never navigated before, just to
Mhm.
see it
Right.
and to understand how it works, because
Mhm.
it takes a little time to get oriented to that stuff. So
Mhm.
I also, when we did the Disney Dream, we actually didn't get on the ship that early that day because we booked that late, but we got on
mhm.
early enough that we were able to do, I'm going to get, is it the Aqua Duck on that one? Yes. And so I'm hoping that when we get on the Treasure earlier
Mhm.
that day, we can do the Aqua Mouse, which is the kind of water coaster at sea, because particularly on the sea days, it gets really busy and the line for that is
Right.
long. So I'm kind of hoping that at least we can say, hey, we've done it, on that first day. And if we do it again, great. But before the
Mhm.
ship gets really crowded, that we can get one run through.
Are you in rooms that will be next to each other, or do you even know that at this point?
Yeah, no, we do know. So actually, we're staying at a different part of the ship than I've ever stayed before, and I'm actually pretty excited about this. So we are on deck 11. The Quins decided to do a balcony room. The Greys decided to do an inside cabin, but we're basically across the hall from each other.
Okay.
Right.
So we're
Yeah, we're
really
close.
close, and we're in the forward of the ship. And when you kind of walk back, you walk right into the pool deck area. So we're up that high on the ship. So I was really excited about that because with Esme being 10 and Connor being a little bit older, I feel like, them being able to kind of walk back from the room to the pools
Mhm.
would be doable. And then on Disney too, it sounds silly, right? But like soda is free on Disney
Right.
cruises, and if you go on other cruise lines, it's not. But all the drink machines are right there too. So if you're in your room and you wanted to walk down and fill up your soda cup, you could do that as well.
Okay. So that sounds like they have a refillable cup, not just go walk up and grab a paper cup.
I
Is
you know
that the
I
case?
it might be a paper cup. I can't remember. I mean, I would have to. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I
Mhm.
do know it's included, which on all other cruise lines it's not. So it's
Right.
it's a it's
Yeah.
a nice it's a nice. I mean, I know you pay a little more for Disney cruises, sometimes a lot more depending on the sailing, but
Mhm.
I do think there are some things included with Disney that aren't necessarily in other
Mhm.
cruises, which is nice.
Is there anything extra that you all are paying for, like a cabana or anything like that?
So,
Which
if
which
if
day?
Julie, yeah, if Julie could find a cabana, we would have one. But those go pretty quickly. So we're doing some of the tastings. I'm doing a champagne tasting with Julie. Colby is doing a liqueur and chocolate tasting with Julie. Pat, what are you doing for tastings?
Oh boy. So Julie and I are doing an old fashioned tasting. We're doing a wine tasting. We are also currently doing the
Sounds like we drink more than we actually do.
we are not heavy drinkers, everyone.
We
We're
we are
doing
not, but
We listen, we don't
right,
judge.
right. We are doing a chocolate and liqueur tasting as well. We'll see if that one sticks. The thing you have to understand about Julie Virginia is she is on the app
Mhm.
consistently, schedule like just refreshing.
Mhm.
Like in the cabin has been the big journey, but like or the not the cabin, the
cabana.
cabana. But as she finds things, like she'll book it because if there's one thing Disney's really good at is this fear of missing out concept.
Right.
When there's a reservation available, it's like snag it and then figure it out on the back end. And she's done that a couple of times where she's booked us for things and been like, oh,
Mhm.
that's when our dining rotation is supposed to be. And she really wants to do the two cocoa dinners. Like she doesn't want to miss those.
Mhm.
And so she's walked back or thought about walking back on a couple
Mhm.
of those. But I'm also doing a reserve bourbon tasting, reserve whiskey bourbon tasting. We have dinner reservations at Palo for one night, the
Mm.
Palo Steakhouse, and then we're also booked for like a nightcap bourbon tasting. Though we may cancel that one because Julie is not a big bourbon drinker
Mhm.
as it is, and so she's not particularly interested. And I'm doing the reserve tasting, so
I'm gonna do a tally of how many of these tastings that you have
we have to.
reserved that you
We
actually do.
Well, and
Because
I have a beer tasting that's on here as well that she
Oh my
booked.
word.
Like and Kelly and I both got the Disney Treasure like
beer mug.
refillable beer mug because at the time we thought, well, what's actually going to be available and what are we actually going to be able to book? Are we going to have it? And here's this thing that, it
Yeah.
takes a little bit off of a cost of beer and we want to check out those lounges.
Right.
Those
Yeah.
those ride based lounges. I can't wait to see the Haunted Mansion parlor.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that thing looks amazing.
Is that
The
Yeah.
even
something that on the day that you are getting there that perhaps Connor would at least be able to tour?
Oh,
even though it's a
absolutely.
lounge? Okay.
I think for a lot of the lounges during the day, the kids are allowed to be in there and see
Oh,
things.
like have a mocktail or
But
whatever?
but at a
Yeah.
certain time at night, I think many of them become
The-
adults only.
Got it.
yeah, we've perused the menu a couple of times for Haunted Mansion Parlor, and the Jungle Cruise themed one is an open lounge. It's not like the Haunted Mansion Parlor they actually like go into, and it's got this
Mhm.
whole ambience. But they have some mocktails. They have some like themed. I think they're sodas, like themed sodas, drinks that are there that are non-alcoholic. There's so much. Just even the videos I've seen, that place looks so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that the kids will be able to get in there and see it. I don't know. I haven't really read up on it, but can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
think
don't build that and not let people see it.
yeah, I think there's a certain time where it switches over to kind of adults
Right.
only.
They do that
We'll
with the
let you
Star
know.
Wars lounge and on one of the other ships. I think is they're one of the Star Wars lounges until it's like until 8 o'clock. And then after
Mhm.
8 o'clock, no kids.
Okay. All right. What are the kids looking forward to the most on the cruise?
I think well, I'm just going to say, first of all, that Esme loves eating on cruise ships, mostly because, I had mentioned earlier that I went through a period where I wasn't eating any red meat. Colby doesn't eat red meat. Esme's favorite food is steak. So when Esme goes on cruises, she just like eats steak at every meal she can eat. So she's excited about that. But Esme is also a beach person, so
Mm.
she's going to really enjoy the islands. We're doing 2 shore excursions. When we go to Tortola, we're doing one where we kind of explore I guess they're kind of like sea caves, and then you end on a beach and kind of hang out at the beach. And then
Mhm.
on St. Thomas, we're doing an excursion that brings you to a beach to kind of hang out for a bit and come back. And
Mhm.
then obviously when you go to Castaway, that's just one big beach day. So
Right.
so I think Esme will like that. You will also sometimes find Esme hanging out in the hot tub up on the pool deck drinking a mocktail. So
Oh.
she loves to get the fruity, slushy drinks.
Mhm.
And when we were in Alaska last summer on a cruise, she spent maybe half the time. And not one of the kids that's like running around splashing in the hot tub. Like she's sitting back, lounging, kind
She's
of.
already living the cruise life, right?
Yeah,
Like
she's
that
living the
is
cruise
she is
life.
basking in that.
Yeah,
Oh.
and the last thing about Esme, I will say 2 things. We are really hoping the premiere of the Stitch movie premieres on the ship, because it
Okay.
it should while we're there, and she's a huge Stitch fan, so that would be big. And she loves to shop, so I have no doubt that we will be in every possible souvenir store
Mhm.
Yeah.
everywhere. So that's Esme.
When we first started showing plans of the ship and just things to do to Connor, he actually was he peaked or he perked up. And again, he was 11 at the time, so things have changed. He perked up though at the idea of Edge, the tweens, early teen space. And so I know that we talked about the tour, really wanting to tour and see that space and check that out. The other thing that's been kind of a recent development. I had the opportunity to take him to go see Hamilton on Broadway, and that was like
Oh
his
yeah.
first ever experience seeing like a stage show. I think he's going to really enjoy. Moana's not his favorite like Disney animated film, but I think he
Mhm.
will really enjoy seeing that production with just the puppetry and the presence and just seeing like a stage production. He really got into that. He really enjoyed it. And I think he will. This is more of a hopeful projection, but I think he will really enjoy that when we go and see that. And
Mhm.
then of course the Haunted Mansion Lounge, like
Yeah.
he knows all about it. He's ready for it. He wants to see the effects. He's getting much more interested in how things work. So I see a lot more of a how they do that factor going with a lot of these too.
Mhm.
I noticed that on rides even now. He'll like be, well, this is how they're actually making that work. He figured out Tron in like 5 seconds. He was like, that's actually a mirror of us. Like the other team is just a mirror of us in a different
What?
color.
It's a mirror?
I know. But when you're 11 or 12 and you
Geez,
see that and you
spoiler
figure it
alert,
out,
Pat.
like whatever, if you can't immerse yourself in the magic, but he's very much fascinated in sort of the how stuff works. And then
Mm-hmm.
he is also a beach kid as well. That used to be a regular, summer weekend that we would
Mm-hmm.
do is we would take him to beaches out here in New England. He loves being out on the beach and playing in the ocean. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that Castaway Cay will be a big hit. We are doing a land and sea tour of Tortola. So
Mm-hmm.
while the Grays are doing the tour of the baths, we will be seeing the kind of both sides of the island on a Disney excursion,
Mm-hmm.
bright and early. That's an 8 a.m. start. I gotta
Mm.
make sure I have extra coffee.
And I have to say, this is for me one of the best reasons why when you're traveling with a group, cruises are so nice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, we are going to be meeting up definitely every night for dinner. I know we'll see each other obviously in other spaces, lots as well. But, you can also pretty easily split up and do your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we've planned this week and it's kind of unfolded, it's kind of been like, hey, are you interested in doing this? Oh, we are. Okay, well, I'll do this together. Oh no, this day we're going to kind of split and do some different things. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're running out of time. Is there anything else that is happening on this cruise that you wanted to mention from all of Julie's notes?
I actually will say the other thing in terms of what Julie's really looking forward to. She really is looking forward to the luxuriating part
Mm-hmm.
of the cruise. She's booked a couple of census sessions. She's doing a massage. She's doing the facial. She's going all out. So I really am excited to see how her experience is, because I do think this is very much a vacation that is going to be great for her in particular. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is her wheelhouse. So
Mm-hmm.
I see us doing a lot more cruises. I'm sure
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
come back and talk about the post trip, we'll be talking about how there are more cruises in our future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I
there's
think
at least one in your future.
Well,
at least
yes,
one.
but yeah,
I think for my family, the rotational dining. I
yeah,
love Disney's rotational dining. It's different than other cruise lines. You kind of rotate through the 3 restaurants, and your servers follow you. So like you still get that familiarity of like the servers get to know you and your family throughout the week, but you're not just at the same table in the same space all week. So for
Mm-hmm.
us, it's Plaza de Coco. It's the Marvel one. What do they call the Marvel one, Pat?
World of
Just
Marvel,
the World of Marvel. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 1928,
23, 28. Yeah,
23, 23. No, 28,
I
23.
was right. See, you got me.
Now we got to double
It's
check.
in the 20s.
It's I should know, but it's like the 3 dining areas have kind of like different vibes, different themes, different foods, and you rotate through each of them twice, and it has a different menu each of the 2 nights you're there. And then we don't know yet what will be our extra. So there's one restaurant we'll be in 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we won't know that until we're on the ship, but
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
It's 23.
Okay, I knew you were going to be right. I mean,
I watch a lot of blogs.
I know you do.
I do.
I'd just like to note that only however many years ago, I had a conversation with the Quinn family about their Disney trip because it was going to be one and done for them. Right? We hear
Mm-hmm.
this all the time, right? I'm going to go to Disney. We want Connor to go once, but how do we do the things we need to do because we never want to go back?
Uh-huh.
So and now look what we have here.
Well, it's my fault. It's totally my fault because that trip was the day that Rise of the Resistance opened at Disney World at Hollywood Studios was during our trip, and I rode it on opening day. And
He might have cried.
I cried after. It was so amazing. I was so blown away, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like walking off that ride. I was like, I love this place.
Yeah.
I love this place. And I was the one who was the most resistant. I was the one and done guy.
You were part of
But
the
then after
resistance?
I was, and then I now try not to make this sound like I'm talking, but I was the one who was like, yeah, let's keep going. I
Mm-hmm.
think we should. And then the second trip became a third, and then now we're
Mm-hmm.
BBC people,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah. I mean, those who get it will get it. And I
Right,
would imagine that if people are listening to this podcast, they either know you personally or they're one of the people who get it.
right.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, this sounds like such an exciting trip. I cannot wait to hear about all the fun that you have, and especially with the Disney Treasure being so new, it's going to be really exciting to get a report of what that's like for people who are thinking about a Disney cruise in their own future, like me, because it's going to happen one day. But thank you both so much for being here, and we will chat when you get back.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much to Kelly and Pat for being a part of the podcast. It was so much fun getting a little window into your friendship. If you are looking for help creating your own magical vacation, please reach out to Kelly and she would be happy to help. As always, her services are free to you as she gets commission after you travel from your resort or cruise destination. Her information and some details about her group Mediterranean cruise happening in July 2026 are all in the show notes. Kelly and Pat's post-trip report is up next, so make sure you have subscribed and followed the show on the podcast platform of your choice so that you will always have the latest episodes ready to go. That wraps up this pre-trip report. As always, keep daydreaming about where you long to be.